Alrighty.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to the July 17th meeting of the Northborough Historic District Commission. My name is Bob Light, Chair. Just to get a few things out of the way. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to the extending certain COVID-19 measures, this meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No person in attendance by members of the public will be permitted. The order allows the Historic District Commission to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded, so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. All members of the Historic District Commission are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. This meeting will not feature public comment. Each vote taken this evening will be conducted by roll call vote. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Brian Smith,
Here.
Leslie,
Here.
Ryan Swanson,
Here.
Amanda Millette.
Here.
Millie is going to be a little late, and I said Brian Smith. Tom Reardon.
Here.
Okay, that's everyone. Thank you. So the first order of the business is the prior meeting minutes, which I've sent to everyone. We've edited a little bit. Are there any changes or discussion on the minutes? This is, by the way, the minutes from the May meeting. We did not have a June meeting. It fell on Juneteenth. So, but this is the May 15th meeting.
I move
Okay.
we accept the minutes of the May 15th meeting.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Ryan Smith.
What am I supposed to do?
Oh, this is for approving the minutes.
Oh, approve the minutes.
Okay.
Yep.
Leslie,
Was I there? I think I was there. Yes.
I think you're there.
Brian Swanson,
Approved.
Amanda Millette.
Approved.
Yes, I was there.
Millie's not here. I said Brian Smith and Tom Reardon.
Yes.
And I approve. Okay. Approved unanimously. Thank you. Starting with old business, the CPA project status. So I have an update now on the Howard Street National Register. That has been delayed by our consultant, but it's moving. It's Lisa Mousoff, and she says she's been answering some of the questions, and we'll get back to it as soon as possible. There was a recommendation to remove from the application the 1953 addition to the cemetery. Is everyone familiar with that? I can show a map if you want. It's a small section that was built in 1953, and I didn't see any issue with that. That's what the Massachusetts Historic Commission wants, so we went along with that. Just want to let everyone know.
I'm curious if it's quick and easy. I'm curious where it is.
Oh, yeah, hang on a second.
Yeah, if it's easy.
I will show it to you.
This is just because of the age. It was just too recent.
Probably. Okay, can you see that? So it's
Yep.
that 1953 section. So everything else is going to stay the same. Obviously, it covers the historic part of the cemetery. Just this little part, 1953. Okay. And there was also a question about
Thank-
which which brook this was, and it's the Howard Brook. I answered that question and explained how the Howard Brook went into the Cold Middlebrook and then joined the Azabit, but that's what they wanted to know.
So it's interesting, went from the colonial part, and the next oldest is on the other side. And the 1919 is sort of in between. I wonder why they left that section open and went to the other side first.
Yeah, that's a good point. But at least it'll be contiguous, and the only thing missing will be the small
Yeah.
1953. So I don't see that as being an issue. I mean, if there's an objection, we could get back to her about that, but it's one of these things where it's probably out of our hands.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Okay.
You're, like you said, there's probably nothing we can object and
Yeah.
say, well, that's fine, but you have
we can
no leg to
object.
stand on.
Okay, now how do I get back on this thing? Oh, boy. Okay, there we go. I'll get the hang of this yet. Okay, everyone can see me again?
Mhm.
Okay, so that was basically it. I'll keep you posted on how that goes. Leslie, the next item was the Warp Cemetery sign. Anything new on that?
No, I haven't bugged Andy about it again. You know, I went back to one of Norm's responses though, and I don't think I caught it, but since the warpage has to do with where the sun exposure, he suggested just rotating the signs because it's just hanging. That if we rotated, it might go the other way.
I don't remember. Is it marked the same on both sides?
Yeah, they're identical
Oh,
and they're just hanging from two. We have a ceiling fan outside. We actually replaced it, but the blades always, like
yeah.
they warp down. So we always flip them over and then they're up and then but they eventually come back down. So I don't know, this would be analogous to that, but
That might be a good thing to do. Was that something maybe I could talk to Scott about in DPW?
yeah, I mean, I'm honestly not sure it's worth it. I mean, I just sort of feel like we spent a lot of money on those signs and they should be right.
Right.
But yeah, I'll reach out to Andy again and just touch base.
Well, if you talk to Andy, ask him about the possibility of turning it around. See if he thinks that'll work.
Okay.
He might want to try that first.
Okay. While we're doing this now, while I'm thinking of it, I'll pull up that email.
Okay. Anything else on that? Okay.
Nope.
Okay, next is the First Parish Church steeple, which had been approved for the CPC funding, the CPA funding for the steeple.
Mm.
And they had applied to the Massachusetts Historical Commission under the get the name of the program, the MPPF, whatever that stands for. Preservation funds of some sort. And they requested $50,000. It was turned down. Now it's not definite they can reapply, but that's where they are now. So they're still going ahead with the project. They may have to scale it back a little bit without that extra money. But they had I think they got $210,000 from CPA funding. Just an update on that. The next is the aqueduct sign, which is I did follow up with Crown Trophy, and they said it's nearly done, and we can expect it hopefully this month.
Yay.
Yay.
That'll be good. Hopefully it'll be put on tighter this time.
Yeah, the idea that Loctite is going to somehow magically solve this problem seems a little.
I think, fortunately, I think if someone really wants to steal something,
They're going to get it. Yeah,
they do.
just going to cut the signpost, right?
You just want to make it difficult for the
Yeah.
novice thief. Next on the agenda is this is not part of CPA, but if you remember the Lyman Street historical markers that the state was paying for. This was the Department of Capital Assets Management. And basically in consideration of the tearing down of Lyman Hall and a few other buildings, they agreed to put up the two markers. One marker was the Westboro State Hospital Farm Community marker, which we had helped write, and then the other one has to do with the Indian Trail, Native American Trail, and they were working with the Nipmuc Nation on that. Our sign apparently is ready, but they're holding off until they finalize everything with the Nipmuc Nation so they can put them up both together. Right now, the only thing that's there is the stand, the basic the sign stand, which is I think made out of wood right now. And this is right off of Lyman Street, right at the model airplane field, and it's across from the old Lyman Street or the Lyman Hall. So that's taking a long time, but again, that's funded by being paid for by the state. It's a state project, so we have very little to say about that. Okay, the planning board submitted a proposal to the underutilized properties program grant from Mass Development. I'm not sure how that went, but we talked about this at the last meeting and we submitted a letter of support to that. Okay, that's all for old business. Committee representation updates. CPC would be Leslie. Anything on that?
Yeah, I thought didn't we already do this, or did we hold off?
No, this is the CPC committee representation
Oh, updates.
updates. Yeah.
Oh, an update. I'm sorry. I thought you were
No,
talking.
we just covered CPA
Representative.
project.
Got it. Yeah, there's nothing, I mean, it's done now until new applications are once town meeting happens, and it's pretty much a done deal until applications are getting accepted again, which will still be another couple months.
When are applications accepted?
It's usually November 1st, December 1st in that time frame, but we haven't even discussed it yet, but it's in the
Yeah,
mid-fall.
there's a good chance we're going to have one for the Revolution 250 monument. And also at the end of the meeting, I just wanted to discuss other historic markers that we might want to consider. So we'll cover that when time comes. And let's see, I think we'll skip over the master plan implementation committee until Lily gets here. Unless anyone has anything else on the master plan.
Well, I'm on that committee too, and not prepared to give an update, but I can tell you that we're at a point now where the master plan is meeting with the select board to try to get some definitive direction on the redevelopment of downtown. The Blake Street project is still going on. Are you all aware of that Lori applied for a grant also for that to get so she actually got ARPA money to I hope I'm making this. Yes, she got ARPA money to get a design to revitalize Blake Street. Our consultants recommended that we kind of look at that. That's one area that we could easily develop for some commercial activity. So there's some ideas for that, and just, I think master plan is looking to get more concrete ideas now. So quite honestly, if this commission has some thoughts about how you want to see the historic homes preserved, that's all in the plan anyway. I don't think that there's any reason to worry about any of that. But if you have any input, that would be really, really great.
Well, there's one thing that we'll be discussing later is a little bit is the possibility of a new historic district on Main Street
Oh, yes, that'd
around
be,
around the
yeah.
Trinity Church. So I'm not sure if that fits in any way because that's a long process to get a historic district set up. But
But
Well-
that could be critical because you never know what will happen with these buildings, and if whatever protection they have is, it's really important.
right.
So,
Well, we would definitely have buy-in from the Trinity Church. The question is whether we expand it to other contiguous property, and then of course we'd have to have buy-in from the
owners,
homeowners.
yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. When Millie arrives, we can go back to this. Next committee is the Northborough Revolution 250. That's something that Brian Smith and I have been
Yep.
working on along with several other town commissions and committees, as well as the Northborough Historic Society and American Legion. And so we're meeting monthly. Our next meeting is next week. We're starting the process of writing scripts for short videos about various historic happenings. First one being the Tea Party, although that's being delayed right now because we've uncovered some interesting things about the actual date of the Northborough Tea Party. I don't know if I can't go into too many details now because it's still very fluid right now. We're still trying to talk to some historians, but Norm Corbin has been handling that, and he discovered that it might have been, instead of 1773, it was actually 1774, a couple months after the Boston Tea Party. And what happened was the textbooks of Kent and Mulligan, is it Mulligan? I think.
Yep.
Are incorrect. They got the wrong reference, and it was referenced in a newspaper they said 1773, and it turns out it looks like it was 1774. So that's all interesting. And I think that would make a very interesting story for our first video anyway, to talk about how we corrected textbooks. We're working on one of our goals is to have a monument for the Revolutionary War soldiers, which we really don't have in town. We have pretty much every other war. I mean, there is the Minuteman statue and there's the Knox Trail thing. But so we're looking at possibility of that. We're looking at something on the order of a budget of maybe $5,000 to $10,000, something similar to the town common monument at the town common. That I think that looks good. It's basically a big piece of granite with a brass marker. So that's being worked on, and that might be something that I might want to apply for CPs.
Where were you thinking of having that? At the town common?
That's another issue. I think the town common makes the most sense. There is space there, and that's where our monuments have been going. Another option would be the town hall, but of course, we don't know what's going to happen to the town hall.
Right.
But the town hall already has the Minuteman, and it already has the Knox marker. So it would make sense in either place. And maybe a third possibility might be over at the Minuteman Proving Ground. I'm not sure there's much area there, especially if they move the 9/11 marker to the new firehouse. That would open up that space for a Minuteman marker. But again, that's many years off, so I'm not sure we would plan on that. So right now it's still up in the air, and I think we obviously need to get together with other town officials and figure out a good place for it. first we have to get the funding to do it.
Would the Historical Society consider? They've got a little bit of property out in front there.
That's true. That's true. I think that may have come up, but that's a good point. That's a possibility. We'll be meeting next week, and I think we'll kick this around a little bit more.
I think
Then,
it's nice to keep them as consolidated as possible too, so that they're not sort of dotted all over the place. And if you want to sort of go check various ones out, although there's something to be said for them each having their own
Yeah, no,
unique setting as well, I guess. I guess it can go either way.
it's true. The town common is a very nice area, and they already have some monuments there. That would be the simplest, I think. Maybe, but again, I think as a committee, we'll decide on that, and then we'll get input from the town. And then something else very interesting about the Knox Trail. I attended a meeting of well, not in person, but online, meeting of the Massachusetts representatives, the House of Representatives, and they have a Revolution 250 committee. And they had a speaker from a company called Conventures. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Conventures. They handle Sail Boston, and they do some other tourist attraction type events. And they have a committee that's handling the Knox Trail commemoration. And there's 33 towns that are listed as part of the Knox Trail, Northborough being one of them. So when Colonel Knox came through Northborough, it was in January of 1776. So they're planning to they're having a local commemoration of in Worcester of the various towns in the Worcester area that Knox had gone through. They are Worcester, Shrewsbury, Brookfield, Leicester, Spencer, and Northborough. So they're going to invite, and I contacted the president of Conventures to say, to give a contact, that myself as a contact name, but also gave them the name of the select board, and told them that when they should, if there is going to be a formal invitation, it has to go through the select board and just keep me in the loop. So they haven't gotten back to me yet. I think they're still planning to reach out to towns, but they said that they hadn't done anything yet, and I was the first one to contact them. So I just want to make sure that Northborough is invited, and we can set up the proper participation. Obviously, would be an event that would be attended by some of the select board. And interestingly, they're talking about having a parade of cannon and Teamsters and Clydesdales, bringing the cannon through Worcester. So I said, well, why not do it through Northborough? And she's considering that, thinking as long as they have the funding, they might consider that. So that could be part of our parade. Okay, that's all for Revolution 250. Let's see, Fire Station Building Committee. Anything, Tom, you want to talk about?
Well, we've been meeting with the design team, and we recently approved the design development drawings and gave them permission to start the construction document phase. We had a presentation of two independent cost consultants that had come up with the cost of the building, and they did a reconciliation, and that was very successful. And then on Monday night, the building committee went before the select board to get a vote on whether to place the fire station project on town meeting, and that was approved unanimously. So in mid-August, we expect to get another cost estimate from the consultants and proceed to town meeting.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
I've been concerned about that beautiful stone wall. has there been any discussion about where that will go?
The walls in the rear of the property?
Correct.
Well, there's the existing walls, some of them will be removed because of the excavation, but there's a whole system of walls that go way up towards the Assabet Hill development. And I don't think there's any plans at this time because it's kind of outside the scope of the project architects.
So should this commission, should the Historic District Commission, I mean, I don't know if anybody else is interested in not preserving it on the property, but somehow, moving it to someplace so that we don't lose all of that stone. Is that in the purview of this commission to at least write a letter and say that?
Well, there is a bylaw about stone walls, but it doesn't apply to this case.
Mhm.
However, we did talk about this in the commission. We were going to offer it to Scott in the DPW because he would normally take the stone wall and move it if it had to be moved. He could move it further down, or he could use the stone for something else.
Uh-huh.
So that's what we had planned to do. I wasn't clear. I looked at the property and it wasn't clear to me whether I wasn't clear what the footprint of the new building was going to be and whether it needed to be moved, because there are a couple stone walls up on the hill, and I
Mhm.
didn't know if that was going to be affected by it. But the last we left it was that the commission was going to ask Scott to take care of moving it, or he might have other ideas for it. Tom, did you?
It's certainly not part of the budget for the new fire station to remove or relocate any stone walls.
So what does that mean? When the excavator comes in, they'll just toss it somewhere?
Well, there's going to be a lot of material removed, and that if the walls are in the way, unless somebody speaks for them, they will be removed.
That's where I thought we would offer it to Scott because he might have use for it. So at the time, when the time comes, that's when we would do that. I'm not sure we can do much about it right now.
Hmm. Do you have any ideas about where it could go?
Well, you could stockpile them at the DPW if you had a use for them.
Uh-huh.
But I know landscapers find them very valuable. I mean, that's another thing, is you could approach landscape companies to remove them, and then they would use them to build new walls.
Wood stone walls, and somehow could they be used on the site in terms of being incorporated into the?
Well, they're not structural. I mean, it's not a system you can actually use to retain the earth. They could be decorative, I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean. In terms of landscaping, or,
That's a possibility.
takes money, obviously, but
Yes, you'd have to hire stonemason to remove them, stockpile, and then come back in and arrange them where you propose them. But there's not a lot of space around the fire station itself. I mean, you could incorporate some maybe around if they relocate that 9/11 memorial from corner of Church and Pleasant to the front of the fire station, you could maybe incorporate some of the stone there. But there's not a lot of open space.
And if they can't use that stone as part of the materials for the big retaining wall?
No, there's a retaining wall is a system that's engineered for retaining the earth. So you just can't take random field stone and incorporate it into it.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, anyway, sorry to interrupt. I have a fond interest in stone walls.
It's on our mind. It's just at this point, I'm not sure what we can do until we really know whether it even has to be moved or not.
Well, there is a clearinghouse of questions and answers that's being run by the fire chief. So you can go to that website and ask about the eventual use or placement of these stones. Just get it into the discussion.
Okay, well, that's something we could do.
Even if it was, used at Ellsworth McAfee or, and anyway, I'll stop. Thank you.
I think Scott would have a good idea of where it might be needed.
True.
So, certainly once everything gets moving before they start construction, we can then address this again.
Hmm.
I mean, the town common seems like a potential
Yeah.
location too, not to mention the fact that it's close by, but also just, big
Good
open
point.
palette there to paint on, so to
Mhm.
speak. But yeah, it's a good thing to keep our eyes on.
Okay, anything else on that? Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
Is there anything else, other committee representation that I missed? I think that covers everything. Okay. All right, for new business, you remember the Legacy Tree Program. We wrote a letter to the select board requesting approval to submit the nomination for the Legacy Tree. Since that time, I found that we have a measurement of the tree. We also had concurrence from Scott Charpentier that he's in agreement with submitting the nomination to the DCR. And in looking through the current list of legacy trees, turns out that throughout the state, there's about 350 legacy trees, and they're all listed by the type. And this particular purple beech is also known as a European beech. And there are, I think, 27 listed currently. The largest tree in each category is considered the champion tree. And the current champion tree for European beech is in Fall River, and it's actually a little bit shorter than the White Cliffs tree. So there's a good chance that the White Cliffs tree, if approved for nomination, I'm sure it will be, could also be a champion tree. Now, I think what's going to determine that is we still have to measure the circumference. We have Scott had an outside group look at the condition of the tree, and there's essentially no beech tree disease, I guess they call it. And so it looks in pretty healthy shape, but Scott will be doing some maintenance on it, some wire retaining on the tree. But the tree is 85 feet high by a spread of 65 feet. And the current legacy tree is only 75 foot. But there are some taller beeches. I think the issue is that the circumference is going to determine it. So we'll see, but we're excited about that. So I presented the request at the Monday's select board meeting, and it was approved. Thank you, Julianne. And thank you for introducing me to the garden club and learning all about legacy trees. I learned a lot about trees in the last few months. Okay, so the next step is I am going to start the application process. I have to go online and do it. I don't know how involved it is, but I think we have all the data we need. And I'll work with the garden club for any botanical questions I might have, which will be a lot.
So Bob, Norm and I discovered the landscaping company in Springfield. It was Hackett Reynolds, and they were well known in the Springfield area for laying out some of the streets and the parks in the Springfield area. So if you need some information on that, we could forward that. But they probably ordered it from Perrin and then did the plantings and laid out the site.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, we got a lot of information from the Westboro Historical Commission
Mhm.
about the PH Perrin, who owns who owned the Westboro Nursery. So that was interesting to trace that back. But yeah, I will I'll let you know if there anything has anything to do with planting. But we have two sets of documents. We have the original letter from Perrin, which was dated like May 6th, 1885. And then we have a ledger which shows that he sold 3 beeches to Wesson for $4.50. And it was the exact same date. So we're pretty confident that we know that's the tree.
I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but Tom, are there like landscape plans for White Cliffs that are available in Springfield?
No, there are no drawings available in the museum.
Oh.
Our best source is the photographs that the Historical Society currently has. I haven't gone to Springfield and looked up Hackett and Reynolds yet. I mean, that's on the agenda.
Interesting.
Okay, moving along. The Trinity Church, if you remember back a few meetings ago, we had met with them and they're looking for funding for some revitalization of the church. And one way to get state funding is either if it's on the National Register, which is a long process, or if it could be a single, what's the term, a single structure historic district. So we talked about possibly starting that process. And then one of the things that we had mentioned was there's a possibility that we could look at some contiguous historic buildings in the Main Street area that are all adjacent or across the street from the Trinity Church. And I listed the library, the 28 Main is the National Bank, the Ball House, C'est La Vie, and the two Gale houses next door, 39 and 43 Main Street. That, of course, is going to require input from the owners. Now, this is a process that is also going to be very time consuming. Has everyone now? Some of you were involved in the sorry, I forgot the
Whitney Parsonage?
the Wesson Parsonage, right?
Whitney.
Whitney, I'm sorry, right, the Whitney Partners, and that was a single house, and I know Tom, you were involved in that, and Brian Smith,
Right.
Yeah, so that's something that we can model it. I do have a flow chart for what you have to go through. I don't know if we want to spend the time to go through it right now, but it basically requires us to set up a committee, a separate committee. It could be made up of Historic District Commission, but it could be other people as well. And this would be a feasibility study, a local historic district study committee. And then that has to publish a report, which could be a fairly large report. And then that goes to the select board and eventually town approval. So I'm not sure what we can decide today, but what I'd like to do is have people think about it, maybe get back to me. I'd be looking for maybe, don't have to answer it now, but maybe someone to head up that committee. And this, we can discuss separately out if there should be, who would be making up the committee and what needs to be done. If anyone wants the copy of that flow chart, I can send that to them for how to set up a historic district. I think it would be good to have another historic district, especially in that area. That was something that has been proposed before and failed. Oh, by the way, the report then has to go through the Massachusetts Historical commission for approval. So it has to go through state approval as well as town approval. So I'm not really prepared to go into much more detail right now, but I'd like to revisit it. And if anyone has any thoughts, can you get back to me about the best way to go about this?
Will you send the flow chart out to everybody or you just,
I'll send it to
I
everyone.
would like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll send it to everyone.
Thank you.
So I can
And
talk
as
to
well,
Martin Smiley, who owns the National Bank building. It's a Strategic Wealth Management now. And Mark lives in Shrewsbury. And I could see if he's sympathetic to that.
Okay. Yeah, and we would have to go to people. Now, I also have a lot of information on the benefits of being in a historic district, but there are some concerns that the homeowner is going to have because obviously they have to ask permission before they do any renovation on the outside. That's probably the only drawback, but I do have some articles about the benefits of being in a historic district. So there's a lot of information. And if anyone, if anyone wants to see the Whitney report, I have that as well.
I mean, some people consider it detrimental also because if they try to sell the house, just in terms of marketability.
Exactly. So at the very least, though, we definitely have permission from the Trinity Church. And if it fell back to only the Trinity Church, we could still do it. And it would solve
You
their
can
problem.
strong arm Millie, say la vie.
But in looking at the map, there's ways to, if you have a few homeowners that don't want to participate, they can be left out. And you could still draw a nice little district around.
And the library, is that,
Library would be one possibility.
it was a nice little string along there, certainly.
Right now, the library is owned by the town, I assume. So
Yeah.
that should be I mean, if the town's going to approve the historic district, then they shouldn't have any objection about the library.
Does Habitat have the mortgage on the 2 restored buildings adjacent to the Trinity Church?
The Gale property?
There's two structures. There are 2 family structures.
Oh, okay, the 39 and 43 Main?
Right.
I don't know. I could look that up though. On the property card, I'm sure they would have the owner.
Given the renovations they've been through, would they still qualify?
Well, the large store to the right with the big columns is pretty much consistent with what was there. Between the Trinity Church and the store, that's less authentic, but it's pretty close.
Because I guess when they did the renovations, they just gutted the insides, but the outside was pretty much preserved, right?
Right. They did replace rotted materials and, but they did retain the exterior.
All right, I think I'm going to move on from that. I do need to do some more homework on that, and I'd like inputs from others if you have any other ideas about how to proceed. Okay, we're almost done here. Now I've got 2 requests that I wanted to run by the commission. 35 Whitney Street, Norm Corbin's house, is requesting some maintenance. And essentially, they're basically, hang on a second. Just want to make sure I'm getting this
The
right.
chimney or?
No, just the repainting of the windowsills. He just wanted to make sure that it went through us to see if it required approval. So, sorry here. So basically, he's saying that all historic windows frames which face the street will be scraped, primed, and painted. The siding will not be painted. The color will remain as white. And they consider it routine maintenance, and it clearly is routine maintenance. Now, according to the bylaws, both the state and the town bylaws, is this should not require approval from the Historic District Commission. From the General Law 43 on Historic Districts, Section 9, nothing in this chapter shall be construed to prevent the ordinary maintenance, repair, or replacement of any exterior architectural feature within a historic district, which does not involve change in design, material, color, or the outward appearance. Further, in the Mass bylaws, 160-70 limits of power. It goes further to say that it doesn't even involve the color of the paint. So in this case, the color is going to stay the same. Now, rather than, and help me out if I'm wrong here, but I think clearly this is outside of our responsibility to approve or not approve. So I don't think that requires it, but I just like a sense of the commission that we do not need to give formal approval. So I think this basically falls under what's known as non-applicability. Do you believe this requires a formal vote? That this is not applicable to our purview?
And it can't hurt. Maybe we even take a vote of whether it's applicable. I don't know how that would work.
All right, let's vote that it is. I don't want to vote that we're approving it because we don't have to approve it. I just
Right.
want can someone make a motion that this is not within the purview of the approval by the Historic District Commission?
So moved.
Second,
second,
okay, Leslie,
Yes, I approve. Or
Brian Swanson,
Approved.
Brian Smith,
approved,
Amanda Millette,
Approved.
Millie's not here. Oh, Millie. Oh, hi, Millie. Sorry. Millie?
I'll abstain because I really just
Okay.
came in.
And Brian Smith, did I say? And Tom
Approved.
Reardon. Approved and Tom
Approved.
Reardon, and I approve. So unanimously, I will notify Norm that that we decided that it was not part of the obligation of the Historic District Commission to approve. Millie, before I go on, we skipped over the master plan implementation. Did you have anything to add about that?
We're actually just meeting tomorrow for the first time in quite a while. There really hasn't been much updates since the last time we met.
Okay, thank you. And all right, lastly is the issue of 13 Church Street, which is the old firehouse. And there is some discussion about the possible demolition of that building. It is a historic building, but the records show, the Macris records show it was built in 1926. So that makes it 98 years old. And again, according to the Historic District Commission bylaws, we can only put a demolition delay on something that's 100 years old and has historical significance. There is one issue, when I looked up on the town, what do you call that? The
GIS.
chart for, I'm sorry. The town card, whatever that is for property information. it says that it was built about 1900, but I think that's incorrect. And the Macris, and I went through the files in the Historic District Commission files, and again, it confirms 1926. And I believe there might even be a cornerstone on the building that says 1926. I don't know. Is anyone aware of that? I can go over and look at it.
Millie might be.
I believe there is. I also do have some documentation about when it was sold from the owners in the early 1900s.
Okay. Millie, if you could just confirm 1926,
Sure.
if we could get a backup to that,
Yep.
because what I said is basically, if you look through the bylaws, we really cannot put a demolition delay on it. The second reason for another reason that we would not have any say in a demolition delay would be if it was condemned.
And I thought that I'd heard that it was unsafe. I thought that was part of the reason.
That,
it's sitting for
right,
so
and that
long.
would overrule it. So even if it was
Right.
over 100 years old and unsafe, then again, it would not require a waiver from the Historic District Commission. But in this case, I think we should leave it up to the building department, whether it's safe or not, and leave it up to the town whether it gets demolished or not.
Millie, did you say when it was sold, was the building not built as a fire station?
The property was sold from the neighbors. I believe it was in 1913 or 1914, something like that, but I can find that out. Also on the actual RFP for that, it does require that the building is demolished because it is unsafe.
Okay, if that's the case, then it's really not an issue for us. But I wanted to make everyone aware of what I concluded, I was assuming that the building was safe, and that we would still not have to go through it would require an open town hearing, open commission hearing, and get public comments, etc. And then we would have to make a decision whether to put a demolition delay on it. But because it's not 100 years old, we wouldn't have to go through that. And I don't think we need to take a vote on this. I'm just looking for everyone to concur with my opinion.
Sounds right to me.
That's right, yeah.
Given Millie's commitment to historic preservation, I would assume that if the building were safe, you
Yeah.
wouldn't try to demolish it.
We couldn't go in it. So I really haven't, I mean, we've had some access, but there's places where the floors are missing and vegetation growing up through the ceiling.
Well, in the bylaws, it's very clear. It talks about buildings that are 100 years old or older. And then there's even, going through government contracts, I know how to look for ands and ors. And in this case, it says, if the building is 100 years old and has historical significance. So it could be more than 100 years old, but not historical significant.
Right.
So, but the fact that it's an and not an or means we're clear. And the other thing is I have here, nothing in this bylaw shall restrict or prevent the inspector from ordering the immediate demolition of any building or structure that is determined to be imminently dangerous or unsafe to the public. The inspector should blah, blah, blah. So I already notified Tim about that, and that basically we had nothing to say about it. I said if it doesn't get demolished until 2026, then we may have an issue. But again, it would go back to whether it's a hazard or not. So we're all in agreement that there's no action that needs to be taken by the commission. Great. Okay, lastly, I'd like to, just for other business, there is a table within the our preservation plan about historic markers. We already got, the library was on that list and we already have done that. There is, so I'd like people to look at that list. It's on page 97. Let me, if you don't mind, I'll share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the list of potential future historic markers. Julianne also brought up one that we could add to this list, and that has to do with the Northgate community, which was built after during the baby boom and probably in the early 50s. And it was one of the first communities basically for housing after after World War II. So that's another one that we could add to the list. But I don't want to go through the list right now. We already have done the Gale Library. But if you don't mind going through this, and it's time that we might want to submit a request for CPA funding. So by the next meeting, I'd like to discuss this in a little more detail about what we think would be a good marker. One thing that comes to mind would be the Trinity Church, especially if we're going to be planning to do the historic district around the Trinity Church. Okay.
Plane crash
that-
site.
Pardon me?
Plane crash site? I don't think I'm sure I've seen it, but
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that is or what that.
Plane crash is a World War II.
It was a bomber, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
interesting.
Well, again, it would require someone with knowledge of what's going on. One thing I would like to do, and this won't be a big amount of money, but if we do get approved for the legacy tree, I'd like to put a little marker up on the legacy tree.
Hmm.
All right. Everyone's back? Good. Any other business before the commission?
I wanted to mention one thing, which it's a house on Church Street that I should not be mentioning the address, but it's a historic house on Church Street with a lot of property, and Norm and I had gone and visited them.
Yes.
The house is under the estate at this point of the three kids who are trying to figure out what to do with the property and the home. I don't think there's any chance that, I mean, we could approach them again, I guess, but we did send them an outreach letter about preservation options, but I don't know if they're planning to, I assume they're probably planning to sell the house. I think they are talking about maybe carving off some of the backlands and maybe conserving that. So we are looking, Open Space Committee is looking at that, but from a historic standpoint of the home itself, I suspect the next time we might see anything on that would be a demolition request at some point, which I hope would never happen, but not going to find many people would want to buy that house. I don't think it's beautifully maintained, but
I know there's a lot of land. You don't think that they could sell the land but keep the house? You don't think that's
I mean, there's nobody living in the house right now, so
okay.
And I don't think any of the three kids, well, the three offspring want to move into the house. So I think it's a question of what to do with the home. So I think they will carve off the land and hopefully conserve that, because it actually goes all the way. So the land on Church Street, it's close to the intersection of Brewer Street. The land goes all the way to 290. And it has access from Brewer Street.
How is the Open Space Committee involved in that?
Where all large parcels of land, we try to prevent development or, assess for possible.
Is it worth sending? I know we've sent them letters before. Is it worth sending another letter from the commission?
It's been, how long ago was it that we sent it?
I have to go back and look. I think we sent 2 letters over
Well,
time.
we-
One was
Norm
to
and I
the
sent
board-
one, yeah, as a follow-up. And then I think I probably have the letter, but Jane died, the homeowner died March of 2022. And I think we sent it about a year after her death. So I want to say it was spring of 23. So it's been, I would guess it's been over a year, but I can try to find the letter.
I'm pretty sure I could find the letter too, but if you could,
Yeah, let me just look quickly. Well,
we could simply reissue it. I'd be happy to do that. I don't know who would be addressed to. No one's living there right now, right?
correct. Yeah, we did it last time. We did it to the 3 offspring as well. We did it.
Mhm.
There's no one living there at the time either.
Okay, well, that clearly would be subject to a demolition review, but again, that's what we're talking about, a 6-month delay.
Yeah, so we sent it, yeah, it was March of 2023.
All right,
I'll
that's a
send
good.
you, I'll send you what I have.
All right, and
Norm and I originally visited in May of 2019. And we sent a follow-up letter to that, and then I think we attached, and then we sent a follow-up of a year ago, or in March of 2023, and we reattached the references from 2019. I'll send all 4 of those documents to you now.
Okay.
Bob.
all right, thank you. I'll put that on the agenda for next month.
Okay, thanks.
I don't think anything's gonna happen this month, right?
I honestly don't know what the status is in terms of timing or anything like that.
It's the oldest property in town.
I know, yeah, it's,
Amazing.
Was it 1716, something like that?
really, it was the original meeting house, right? Before.
Mhm.
There are, yeah, I mean, Jane took me, when Norm and I went, she took us on a tour. I mean, it's astounding. It's like a museum. She took us upstairs, took us through every room. It's incredible. You wouldn't want to put any marbles on the floor and see them stay in place. But yeah, I mean, they took such good care of it for so long. It's really beautiful.
Well,
But
that's
it's
a
a
shame.
certain person to want that house, obviously.
I mean, someone bought the Sturbrook farmhouse. Granted, it was a flipper, but someone bought that, so it's a possibility.
Right, and they actually, I think they did fix it up nicely.
Yeah.
The barn is gone, but the old inn is there. That was an inn where you could stay for $1 a night when it was first turned into an inn. Okay.
The
well,
only problem that I see with them at this point doing anything is if they want to sell it, preserving it first is only going to limit their ability to sell it.
that's a
It's
good
going
point.
to put more restrictions on it. So
That's a good point.
I'm not sure there's any incentive. And maybe
Yeah,
I'm
if-
missing something,
if-
but I'm not sure there's any incentive whatsoever for them to put a preservation restriction on it.
No, so what you're saying is that we might want to have to contact the new owners.
If there's new, yeah, I mean, let me send you the letter. We can review the language and what the options were. Ashley Davies, she used to work for Sudbury Valley, so she's the one that she knows a lot more about the various options, but I guess mostly not from historic, but from a conservation perspective, so never mind. I'm thinking of the conservation of the land.
Well, Who,
Anyway, I'll send this to you.
who will be tuned in to know when it gets sold? Do we need to contact the realtor?
I don't know who the realtor is. I'm not sure it's on the market yet.
Okay, well, that's even
I
better.
heard they were asking $2.8 million.
Oh, so it is
And they
on the
were-
market?
With the land in the house, and there were possibility of developing 5 building sites, but it's kind of scared off anybody who would be interested because the land costs are so high. So don't know what's going to happen there.
Well, if anyone has any thoughts, we should keep we should try to be tuned into what the status is of the sale. I'm not sure who in town gets notified of that. But you said the Open Space Committee might have access to the status?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, well, let's hopefully keep us in the loop. Thank you. That's it's important to try to preserve that.
you look on Zillow, it doesn't look like it's on the market. So Tom, you think it was on the market? I see it valued as 1.3 million. That's just the house, I assume.
I just heard it, a real estate developer was approached.
Okay,
That's just secondhand knowledge.
okay, all right. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's officially on the market yet, but I'll reach out to somebody and see if I can get some information.
It's checked MLS. It's not on the market.
Okay, thanks.
Well, our budget was increased to $1,000. That's not going to help. Okay. Any other business before the commission? We need to talk, we should have a meeting in August. If it's okay, we're looking at August 21st. That's okay with everyone. Hopefully it won't interfere with too many vacation schedules, but we should get something out of the way. I think it's an important meeting.
I'm good with that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
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 Third.
third,
That's not very good counters. Work on your math skills here.
okay, let's vote on adjourning. Leslie Harrison,
Yeah, I think so.
Brian Swanson,
Yes.
Amanda Millette,
Yes.
Millie Milton,
Yes.
Brian Smith,
yes.
Tom Reardon,
yes.
and I vote also to adjourn. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, everybody. Stay
Good to
cool.
see everyone
summer.
after a
Thank
month off.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Nice to see you, everyone.
See you next month.
Yes.
Thanks.
Actually, Bob, do you want to stay